Ryan, I try not to throw it around. So cloud is where
Cloud's
I
fair
am
game.
on this. Is cloud fair game?
Cloud's fair game.
Like for me to actually say somebody is a cloud,
Yes.
for me, that is going to a place where I feel like if you call me a full-on cloud, yo, who the fuck are you talking about right now? Like, I think I've established myself in such a way that being called a cloud is a very egregious thing for you to do. And therefore, I feel like in a lot of ways, I should extend that grace and courtesy to somebody else. But I don't feel like Lane Kiffin has put in the work to be a dignified person in the way that I have. Therefore, perhaps I don't need to be so shy about calling this motherfucker a clown. I also realize that while I'm fretting over clown, I just called him a motherfucker. I get all of that, right? I don't, none of the words that I know apply to somebody who does the things that he does. All of them feel beneath me. And we all know the real problem. If you fight Lane Kiffin, he's going to call the cops. Right? Like, Ryan, I told you about when I ran up on that one dude during the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I'm just like, I know he'll call the cops, so I know he'll sue. Right? Like, but this guy, hold on, not this guy, Ryan, your guy.
My guy.
LSU's new head coach.
LSU's new head coach, Lane Kiffin.
LSU's new head coach, Lane Kiffin. Okay. Let me take a break from all the clown stuff, right? I need to gather myself. I need to get to this other stuff while I can, because none of that was exaggerated, by the way. Like, I couldn't figure out how.
I sent you the tweet, and this is at minimum the third most drama that Lane has had leaving somewhere.
Yes, there was when he got fired on the tarmac. And, hold on. He got fired on the sideline. They told him on the tarmac.
Right.
And his number two, the Kiffin riots of 2010.
Correct.
When
he almost burned down Knoxville.
Yes, when he left Tennessee in the middle of the night, it never dawned on them that this would. Also, what is forgotten in that story is how wild it is that the NCAA was about to bring the hammer to them.
Yes.
The hammer. And Mike Garrett hired Lane Kiffin anyway.
Right.
That was
after he got fired in disgrace in Oakland.
Yes.
And Al Davis said what he said about him.
But look, you're about to get the hammer brought down to you from the NCAA for the behavior of this regime, and you double down on it by hiring Lane. That was a wild move. Okay. But anyway, yes.
2010 was a different time for a lot of reasons.
Yes. So yes, this is number 3, and this. Okay, so the difference between this, well, I mean, don't forget the exit from the Raiders may have actually been messier because it made Al Davis break out that overhead projector and offer prophetic language about how it is that this guy will bring disgrace and dishonor. Because remember, when Tennessee hired him, he wrote a letter to Tennessee to tell them that Lane Kiffin would bring disgrace and dishonor upon their program.
And he was right.
1 year later,
13 months.
That exact thing. Like, this one's different though, right? Because this one got into a very, I don't know if strange place is the right way to put it, but it's the fact that Ole Miss is 11-1 and they're probably going to the college football playoff. And that leads to a very, very difficult decision for somebody like Lane Kiffin. Because look, he reasonably understands there's no way that he could come back and coach that team. Like, that wasn't on the board. I talked about this in a previous show. It's one thing when it's Urban Meyer and he's at Utah and he's about to go to Florida. LSU's head coach can't be in Ole Miss's building, right? And you know how not only is Lane messy, Lane is a habitual line stepper. He gonna be calling recruits from the office phone. Like, he can't be using y'all's internet to look up that stuff.
And recruiting everyone on his team potentially.
Yes. Like this This was a non-starter. It never could be a thing. And so the reports are that Lane goes to the Ole Miss people and says, hey, if I don't get to stay and coach this team into the playoff, then I'm going to take all of the assistants and all of the players. Well, what the fuck was your other plan, Lane? What are you telling me? That otherwise you weren't going to try to do these things? What are you talking about? That was going to be what you tried no matter what. So the reporting indicates that Lane was trying to get his staff, get his guys, right? Get as many of them to come with him to Ole Miss. Brett McMurphy of On 3 got a quote from somebody that said, leave it to Lane Kiffin to try to burn a bridge while he's standing on it. Okay? But he wanted to go to LSU, and he also wanted to coach this team in the playoff and tried to basically extort the ability to stay and coach this team because he said that if he left, he would just take all the players. And no, that didn't work. Then we got a report, and this one's a little shaky, but that the report is that Lane Kiffin told the offensive coaches that either you come with me on this plane to Baton Rouge or there ain't no job for you. And it appears that only Charlie Weiss Jr., whom Lane Kiffin made offensive coordinator at Florida Atlantic without a resume to indicate such things when he had that job, he's the only one that got on the plane.
Right. It's like him, the GM, maybe the strength coach, 247's reporting, but it's certainly not the litany.
It's no assistants.
No, it's no real assistants.
Right. So Pete Golding, who's the defensive coordinator, has been made the head coach at Ole Miss. But as things stand right now, we have no report or indication that any of the other Ole Miss assistants are coming with Lane Kiffin. Now, there are two ways to look at this, right? One of them is they think Lane's a clown, which is on the board, but that's not in totality. They knew you ain't just go find out. You didn't just find out that Lane's a clown, right? Like you knew this already.
He's been there for 6 years.
Yeah, but also he's been Lane Kiffin for as long as we've known who Lane Kiffin was, right? His entire existence is marked by clown behavior. I forgot about
one exit, the Alabama one.
Oh, yeah, when Nick Saban sent him home the week of the championship game because he had another job that he was a little bit too focused on. But the next part of this that nobody's talking about, and I don't want to say nobody's talking about it because I'm not that brilliant. Somebody maybe has brought this up. But I am fascinated by the idea that never have assistant coaches ever had more leverage than the Ole Miss assistants had as of right now. Because here's the thing. They're making the argument this is the best Ole Miss football team of all time. That is totally on the board. They are going to go into the playoff. I think we all agree that that is the case. But if all of their coaches leave, they are really in shaky ground with the committee about what they do with them in terms of seeding and if they actually get to go or whatever it is, because that would make them a much different team if they had a zombie coaching staff out there, right? Now, I also imagine that coaching staff wants to coach in this playoff. Now, we'll talk to Spencer on Tuesday about the playoff in general, because you guys asked for this nonsense, and this is part of what we get, in the story of this. But anyway, Ole Miss needs to do whatever it can to keep this team together, if for no other reason than they want to spike Kiffin. And these players, it sounds like, want to spike Kiffin, okay? So when Lane is like, you guys coming with me, those assistants know that Ole Miss knows that Lane wants them to go, okay? Pete Golding, who was a bit of a laughingstock as the defensive coordinator at Alabama, he's the head coach now. And
not the interim, the permanent head coach.
Right, he got they are not doing a search,
right?
Okay, Pete Golding is the head coach, and I had known him by name. I saw a picture of him, and I'm like, there's no way that man is a head coach. Now, granted, that picture was not the greatest necessarily.
Right, not with that haircut, and not with
not with that beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
does not present discipline. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but he had all the leverage in the world, right? Make me the head coach. I can keep this whole thing together, but you got to do this right now. And so somebody that I ain't heard nobody talk about, we want to hire Pete Golding. Now, he's an Ole Miss alum. That sort of thing also helps at a time like this where you feel that you've been betrayed by an interloper. But he's there. All those offensive assistants, They could name their price just because they need those people on the staff right now. And I imagine it is not difficult at all to find the money to do whatever it takes, because Lane Kiffin walked to that plane at the airport in Oxford and he was surrounded by middle fingers, Caucasian middle fingers at every turn. Let me tell you something, brother. If it was me, and when I say me, I mean specifically me and all the characteristics of me, and I was in Mississippi and I saw angry white men like that, I would have been terrified. I would have run on the plane. It was relieving to see that this happens to guys like Lane Kiffin also. That's how mad they looked at him. They were furious with him. And it's all because he tried to burn the place down on the way out. And that was so wildly unnecessary, right? Everybody understands you can't do this job anymore. I've seen people make the argument or have this discussion about what was going on with ESPN and the belief that like CAA set out talking points basically to all of their clients about why Lane Kiffin should have been allowed to coach in the national championship. I mean, keep coaching Ole Miss through the playoff. I want to make a couple of points here. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, right? Maybe CAA sends out paperwork, sends out talking points every morning, right? I've been sending CAA percentages of my money now for over a decade, I want to say. I'm just saying, I never got any of those talking points. Now, maybe that says more about me and my standing within this agency than it says about anything else. But I'm just here to let you know, like I've been rep by another agency that would never give me talking points, but would be like, hey, if you want it, we got some information on something if you want. Right? These kinds of things do happen. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying maybe I need to talk to CAA and find out where I really stand, in the hierarchy here. I've been right here, baby. Or maybe they just know I'm too gangster for that shit. I don't have any idea. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know it was crazy that so many reasonable people were actually trying to make the argument that he should be able to work for two teams in the same conference in states that border each other. That was absurd.
What do you make of the argument Nick Saban was pushing, essentially that the schedule is to blame for this situation and not Lane Kiffin? Like, essentially because of the transfer portal and the way that the playoff is scheduled, that situations like this are going to happen due to the calendar more so than anything else.
No, he's right. But here's where I push back on the idea that it's the schedule is at fault, right?
Right.
The schedule puts Lane Kiffin in a bind in this. The schedule makes Lane Kiffin have to choose. But the bottom line was he had to choose. And rather than choose, he kicked the can as far down as he possibly could. And then he made it. He handled a bad situation terribly. It's unfortunate for you, Lane. And this is the part that makes it unfortunate for everybody. And this is the truth. What makes it tricky is that to be good enough to get a job like LSU, chances are you're coaching a team that's going to be going to the playoff. You know what I mean? Like, or
at least in the mix in the final week.
Exactly. Right? Like that's how that's going to go. And that makes that grown man have to make a decision. But the truth is, he knew he wanted to go to LSU. And my question for him is this: if the LSU job is so good, right, then why do you care that much about this team? And don't tell me because you care about the kids. Like, you're just never going to get me to believe. I don't think the kids feel that cared about either in the course of this. You had a chance to coach in the playoff, and you wanted to do promotion for LSU by coaching in the playoff. That is what I believe. A big part of why I believe that is I assume the worst about this man. No matter what the circumstances are, I assume the worst, except when somebody call him a hoe and he go check him for it, right? You have, okay, Lane, relatable content. But he made it like this. He's not the first person to wind up in a similar situation, and very often those people have to go on. Or you had this option. You could have stayed at Ole Miss. And what I'm curious about, because Marty Smith, bless his heart, who got sent down there to Oxford, Mississippi, trying to get some time with Lane and just look miserable on TV.
He looked like he was on the Ed Werder beat of Green Bay. the Brett Favre retirement or
Yes,
not.
yes. Like, I have to keep doing this. And I like Marty. Marty did not want to keep. Finally, Marty got him at the airport, and Marty asked him all the right questions, too. Like, if you look at it, it's about a 6-minute interview on the tarmac. And I thought Marty asked all the important questions, and he asked them directly. And one question he asked was, what is it about the LSU job that makes it one that you would leave Ole Miss for? And he said he didn't want to get into that. And no, I want you to answer that for me. Because what I don't understand, first of all, and Ryan, we talked about this already. You guys are chaos. Like, was it a month ago we were just talking about what a ridiculous place LSU had become with the governor having these press conferences and everything else? Well, we're not going to offer no contract like them other contracts, and it sure sounds like you did.
Right.
Right? An athletic director that you seemed to name because you needed to hurry up and name an athletic director. Like, this all seemed... If Ole Miss was going to pay him roughly the same amount of money, right? And you clearly have put together a roster that's better than LSU's is this year, right? So why are you going through all of this to leave? Like, do you believe that what you've done at Ole Miss is fool's gold? That's the question I want to know. Like, deep down inside, does Lane Kiffin really believe that Ole Miss, that these teams that he's built there, what he talks about is the greatest run in school history, anything else, do you actually believe these teams are good? And I don't think he actually believes that. And by the way, show me the big wins. If I'm not mistaken, I went through and looked at this in this run. This year's game against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's okay. And I think either.
I mean, I just watched Oklahoma. Let's call them limited offensively.
Yeah, but I mean, that's since Mateer has gotten back from being hurt. I think that's what it is. And I can't remember if Mateer even played in that game. But like, they won it on the road. But you go look through the Lane Kiffin run, the big wins aren't really there. They get a lot of wins and they win the games that they're supposed to. But because of the nature of what these schedules are, he's not like he's out here getting these big, gigantic, titanic wins over people. Like, not even a win that's in line with what Vanderbilt did on Saturday to Tennessee, where they ran on them for over 300 yards. And the reason that I bring up this idea that the idea that we are in an age and time where Vanderbilt can run for 300 yards on Tennessee at Neyland takes me back to the question, why exactly are you doing all of this if Ole Miss was going to give you the money? Is LSU, which I had believed at points to be the best job in the country, right now, is it a better job than the job you have right now? Is everything that you're going through and the damage that you're doing to your professional reputation and going into this job that is going to be chaos, was this all worth it for you to make a fool of yourself to go to a place that, as it stands right now, does not have a football team as good as the football team that you are currently coaching? Why are you doing that? I just want to know the answer for why it is that you're doing this. Florida seemed like a much better cultural fit for Lane. He is exactly what it is that they are looking for. He is the spiritual successor to Steve Spurrier. He's the guy that they want, right? Here's the other thing that could have happened for you. Ryan, I want you to tell me what you think about this because I haven't workshopped this with you, okay? The tricky thing about LSU is they have proof of concept that you can win a national championship there with a cartoon character because they've done it twice. All right.
This is 2 cartoon characters.
Yes. Actually, they've actually done it with 3. It's just that Saban is a different cartoon.
Right? Especially Saban then, because people forget that Saban used to be more intense.
Yes, he was. And
before he started graying, like he looked more like Will Muschamp out there than friendly Grandpa Saban.
And by the way, the Saban years are up, down. Like, it's down, up, down. There are only 2 like really, really good seasons there.
Yes, and they had an incredible run of success after he left with his recruits.
Yes.
That 05 to 07 LSU run is probably the best run in the school's history.
It is. But with his recruits in 04, with Nick Saban there, I want to say they went 9-4 or something like that. But either way, they've seen a lot of people win a championship there. They understand that they feel like it's reasonable to feel like anybody can win a national championship here. And that's why it's kind of weird that Lane Kiffin feels like Les Miles needs to win a national championship there. Ed Ogeron needs to win a national championship there. If Lane Kiffin is what you people tell me that he is, then you should be able to do this at Ole Miss, right? Because think about it this way. Ohio State believes that it's not about the coach there. It's just about the machine that they have. Okay. Small problem. You know what every coach that Ohio State has won a national championship with has in common? They're all Hall of Fame caliber coaches. They've all, how about this? They've all, except for Woody Hayes, Paul Brown won a national championship at Ohio State and then won NFL championship. Okay. Woody Hayes won, I want to say 5 national championships or something like that there. Um, Jim Tressel has won a one double A, multiple one double A championships, and then won the national championship at Ohio. Urban Meyer at Ohio State. Urban Meyer won 2 national championships at Florida and an undefeated season at Utah, and then won his national championship at Ohio State. Ryan Day is the only one that's really kind of in line with it's the machine that does it. John Cooper did not win a national championship there. John Cooper won 10 games at Arizona State, and I want to say at Tulsa. Earl Bruce did not win a national championship there. So clearly, not everybody can win a national championship at Ohio State. Ed Ogeron won a national championship at LSU. I'm just telling you, they're not going to love you like that there. And you're also not really their kind of guy, and your brand of smarm is not going to work with those people. Ole Miss, you are right. You have the best run of success that Ole Miss has ever had. Even if I can't find the big wins there, you've won major bowl games at Ole Miss. You consistently won double-digit games at Ole Miss. You've shown the ability to build a team better than LSU. What this tells me is that every day of your life at Ole Miss, you've been scared of LSU, right? Like you don't believe. Is it that you don't believe anybody can do it at Ole Miss, or you just don't believe that you can do it at Ole Miss? Because you've kind of given proof of concept that you could come pretty close to doing it there. You would probably be better off staying there instead of coming into a place where they're not really going to love you like that. And I have to go back to the fact that it's a crazy house right now. Like, you're right. We were up here talking about who would ever want to take this job with all the chaos that LSU provided. And Lane Kiffin was like, I love a crazy girl.
Right.
Nothing gets me off like that. What?
And it really is amazing. But the thing that's interesting about LSU is that fan base believes they have left multiple national championships on the table because of their lack of modern college football offense. And the 1 year they had a decent offensive mind in that building, they put the greatest offensive season in the history of college football.
Yes.
So they're going. That's the model they're going to look for Lane Kiffin, and I'll be interested to see how that works. Keep in mind, he has to go play at Oxford next year. Ole Miss is their permanent opponent.
He has to go play at Tennessee too.
Yes, and you start off the year playing Clemson in a revenge year.
Just asking a question: Do they still make things that use D-cell batteries? And I'm asking that question because when somebody pulls up on game day in Oxford and it's like, yo, let me get some of them D-cell batteries. Stop and ask yourself, why would these people need D-cell batteries? I don't know the last time.
They're gonna have to. They might have to play that game in an empty stadium, like it's a soccer match in Italy when they get too racist.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing, though, man. I love a good villain. We have, and he loves being a villain. But look, I ain't gonna say nothing about all the stuff he's saying about his daddy. I don't know nothing about them and they get down or anything else. But I do know this. I've been praying about this, and I let God tell me to go take this job. I find that to be unconvincing. And what that sounds like to me is somebody who started coaching in the SEC, who is not native to the space, who was like, you know what? You just need to get down here and talk about God a lot. Yeah, that's what they love. That's what it is. You think, and Ryan, I don't know nothing about your background. I don't know your biblical knowledge, but is there a story in the Bible that sounds anything like Lane Kiffin for the last 2 weeks?
I don't believe the Bible says take your $90 million and run.
Take your $90 million and run, or extort thee, extort thee all the way out the door. I don't know where these things are. I don't, but I mean, He's now the story of college football
He's
next year.
he's the main character going forward.
But what he is, and I'll give him, I don't know if credit is the right word, but there aren't that many interesting coaches left, right? And he's one. I want to say this on the way out because I've just said this thing. Maybe he stay at Ole Miss. And look, I talked about this with Joel. Like, we got to be honest about maybe the problem with this job is that that legacy of Confederate
Doesn't
stuff, right? Like I would love for him to come out and say it. I mean, other coaches basically said it out loud. Tommy Tuberville left because of it. David Cutcliffe certainly has intimated it at points of the difficulty it comes with. Maybe this is it. But look around the rest of that conference. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt was like, nah, I'll take the money and I'm going to stay here. Eli Drinkovitz at Mizzou. He was like, you know what? You guys got to check. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stay here. The game plan seems to be for these guys to get this money and stick around where they are. The question is going to come down to these schools recognize that these crazy buyouts, if they're still doing them, what it means is we're in this together, man. Right? Like you're going to have to make the decision.
And the same people who will pay $50 million to run you off will pay $50 more million to keep if they think you're the guy.
Yes, but I think everybody needs to understand, though, that this is going to be more like the pros. And what that means is you're going to have some more ups and downs in the ways that these goes. And every now and then you're going to have a not great season. And maybe it might be two of those not great seasons for whatever reason. But the buyouts are supposed to make you ride through it. It's not supposed to make you say, damn, we got to go past the hat again. Like, it's supposed to change the way that you make these decisions. And it hasn't changed the way the decisions are made. But the SEC, it seems to be at the very least that a lot of these people have decided we're going to go for stability. I'll just throw it out here, by the way. Shout out to you, Florida. They hired John Summerall, who's the coach at Tulane, who might be a better coach than Lane Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin with his no conference championships, no division championships, literally an empty trophy case. You know who else might be better coach than Lane Kiffin? The guy LSU just fired.